One of the key elements to surviving ransomware is practice. Practice makes perfect, and it's really true in ransomware. So let's talk about that. So when we're talking about practicing, what we're doing is trying to simulate a ransomware attack. Now, what makes ransomware different is the way it attacks. So in other types of disaster, you essentially lose the entire server. In a ransomware attack, we actually just lose some files within that server. And so now we have to fill that hole. But depending on the level and the nature of the attack, we could be talking about 100,000 files out of maybe 500,000 files. So how do I find that almost a needle in a haystack? Well, that really means that the backup software has to be particularly good at this function. Number one, it has to be able to identify the files that were potentially encrypted. Now, it can do that as long as it has a really good cataloging system and the ability to compare different files. Now, the second thing is it has to be able to manage different types of targets. And so one of the things is, if you can, you want to be able to use a snapshot. You want to be able to use maybe a cloud or an S3 connection. And again, you want to have some sort of disconnected copy. Now, what we suggest as part of the practice is practicing recovering from each one of these devices. So what does the snapshot recovery look like? Many snapshot recovery efforts require the replacement of the entire volume. You may not want to or be able to do that. So how do I go into that snapshot and pull out individual files? Again, the backup software should be able to help a little bit with that. Then the second would be either the S3 connection or also a disk backup appliance. How do I pull just the granular files that I want out of that? Practice that, make sure you know how to do it. Also track time so you know what to set as far as expectations with your users as far as how long it will take to recover from a ransomware attack. And then finally, you're going to hear a lot of people talking about disconnected copies, including us. At the end of the day, there's a potential, and we haven't seen it yet, that everything else gets corrupted. And so the only thing left is the thing that wasn't online, which is tape. So we think that tape makes a lot of sense, especially in the enterprise. Make sure you practice the recovery from tape. It may be the recovery of last resort, but if you don't know how to use it, it's not going to be very valuable to you. So make sure you understand, if you have to go all the way back to tape, what that's going to look like. So the key is to practice this by standing up a test server, eliminating 100,000 out of 500,000 files or whatever percentage makes sense in your environment, and then testing each one of these different scenarios so you know exactly what's going to happen when the ransomware hits you. I'm George Crump, lead analyst with Storage Switzerland. Thank you for joining us.